Hi, I'm Ray Pinney with New Jersey School Board Association. I like to welcome. We have two special programs. Both gubernatorial candidates have agreed to talk to the over 4,800 school board members, charter school trustees in New Jersey about their views on education. So this will be just focused on education. I think you'll really enjoy it, and it gets you to hear our members and administrators can hear what the candidates feel on education. So with me today, in this episode, is Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican gubernatorial candidate. So welcome. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to the discussion.
Okay, so let's talk about, New Jersey public education is always ranked at the top or near the top in almost every poll that they have in every magazine and everything else. What will you do to keep New Jersey public education at the top and probably, hopefully, improve?
Yeah, Ray, to challenge us, you're never going to hear me say we have one of the best school systems in the country. The fact of the matter is 50% of the incoming freshmen at any one of our 19 community colleges are taking remedial courses that don't qualify for college credit. Somehow, some way, those children graduated from our high schools. So I think there's a tale of two schools when we talk about it being the best, but yet we see things that really are not as successful as we need them to be. And we know that we have school districts where a very significant percentage of the students are not on grade level for reading, writing, math. I'm of the opinion that we've kind of watered down the public school curriculum with a number of things that aren't focused on critical life skills. I mean, when county clerks tell me that 18-year-olds are coming in to register to vote and they're printing their name, I think our school system is failing our children. That's a very, very small example, but I think it's also compelling. I've said all along, I want to see us get back to emphasizing critical life skills like literacy, writing, mathematics, certainly civics, history, or social studies are all part of the mix as well. But I really do believe we need to get back to focusing on critical life skills. And I also think that we should think about something like the European model where, we sit down with a family at the end of eighth grade for the student. And if we know then and there that they're not desiring to go to college, we should have them on a vocational track all through high school. So there's a readiness for careers upon graduation from high school. So let's get back to the basics. Let's get more emphasis on traditional vocational training and where a child is behind grade level. What we've seen success in other states that have made significant gains on the national report card, a high impact curriculum. If your child is not on grade level for literacy, math, writing, let's have that child maybe spend the whole next marking period just focusing on the one or two or three skills to get them on grade level. I'm a data guy, and the data is pretty clear. If you're not on grade level by the end of eighth grade, you will more than likely be underemployed your entire life. So just want to see us get back to the basics. I think there's things in the public school curriculum that are better left at home, and between parents and their children at the kitchen table. And let's get back to just focusing on critical life skills.
All right. So, to outline your agenda, you have to have funding for your public schools, and that's a large portion of the state budget, obviously. And there is a school funding formula that's being funded. Not every single school district is happy with it, though. What are your thoughts on funding schools?
So I've not been shy about saying I do believe the current school funding formula is nefarious. It's arbitrary. I also believe it's unconstitutional. And no one's going to ever justify to me, and we'll be making an argument before the Supreme Court if anybody challenges me on my school funding formula as governor. But no one's ever going to, justify to me how one district should be spending $21,000 more per pupil than the average across the state. And I do think across the state that average is somewhere between $14,000 and $20,000 per year. The other thing I see across the state is disparity in the quality of special ed from one district to the next. I don't think that should be the case. We also know that the special ed budget is causing a crowding out effect in local school board budgets. So what I'm proposing is the state takes over 100% of special education, and then with our leftover monies, every district's going to get X for every English-speaking student, X plus for every English language learner, and then every school district needs to be within, for the non-special ed students, needs to be within a reasonable range of somewhere between $13,000 and $20,000 per pupil because things are more expensive in Bergen than they are in Salem. And if you're not in between those two, if you're not in that range, that tells me that you're not really spending taxpayer dollars as wisely as you should. And then there needs to be some kind of stick, and we can have that discussion. but I do want to try to produce some degree of accountability. I also believe that the school funding formula calculations should be made public. We hand out millions upon millions of dollars to school districts, and yet this administration, and I'm not saying the administration before I've done it either, but I think our school districts are due more transparency. Why is it we can't see the actual calculations that lead to the amount of aid that's awarded to our school districts? So from an accountability standpoint, I do believe we can need more accountability at the state level with more transparency. But we also need more accountability at the local level by keeping school districts within a reasonable range.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. A lot of school districts have found some success with this, looking at the social emotional wellness of their students, the mental health of their students, to move academic achievement. What is your feeling on? I know you alluded to before that want to go more back to basics, but on meeting the mental health needs of our students.
We know there's a mental health crisis in the community. We know that it's affecting more young people than ever before. And so we know schools are in and of themselves a community, and we want it to be a community in which every child can reach their full potential. So I'm all ears as to what it is that we could do within our schools to help with the quality of mental health amongst our students, for sure.
Along those same lines, there's it brings up a lot of strong feelings, diversity, equity, and inclusion, sometimes known as DEI. Some people look at it as a great way to reach all students, and other people think it might be pushing an ideology. How do you look at DEI in education?
Well, let's be more specific, Ray. I mean, we have an LGBTQ curriculum that was promoted it was provided to promote inclusivity. When I sit down with Muslim Americans across New Jersey, they're telling me their children are being bullied at school. When I sit down with Sikh across the state, they tell me their children are being bullied at school. When I sit down with Jewish people who don't send their children to private school, use the public school system, they tell me their children are being bullied at school. We don't have a Jewish curriculum. We don't have a Sikh curriculum. We don't have a Muslim curriculum. I think what we could use across the state is a curriculum focused on our diversity. We do know the state is the most diverse in the country. I think there's power and beauty in that diversity. And I think what we can teach our children is the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you, and that we're not going to tolerate hate, bullying, or intolerance just because somebody's different from you. I think that's a lesson plan that children of any age could understand.
Okay, thank you. Probably the thing that's changing the most in our schools is technology in the whole world, not just in our schools, but there's been some talk about how cell phones might affect students' learning capabilities, and we have AI coming in. What are your thoughts on the technology in our schools, AI, in particular, cell phones and AI?
So I don't believe children should have access to their cell phones during class time. I have visited some schools whose policy it is to have a pocket, a wall pocket on the inside the door, and you have to deposit your phone somewhere in your slot prior to taking your seat, and then you pick it up again at the end of class. I don't like Trenton taking a heavy-handed approach. I think that's a very simple policy decision for local school boards and a local community to make. With regard to AI, listen, I'm all for leveraging modern day technology to enhance learning and expand people's intellectual capacity and their scholastic aptitude. But when I've got county clerks telling me that when 18-year-olds come in to vote and they're printing their name, I would caution us not to get away from some of the basics while we're falling in love with new technologies.
Okay, and your point person for your educational policy, if you're a governor, is the commissioner of education. I'm not going to, if you want to tell me who you're going to appoint, that'd be great. But if you're elected, what backgrounds and skills are you looking for in that person?
Throughout my administration, Ray, I'm looking for people who come from the front lines. I think it's really important to be able to identify with what's going on the front lines. That means my preference would be somebody that has possibly served as a superintendent of schools and has been very successful in enhancing learning in their school district. But I don't want there to be any honeymoon. I don't want there to be a learning curve. I want to hit the ground running. It's got to be somebody from the front lines who's in agreement with me, but will also challenge me on how to improve our educational system. And if it's somebody who's going to just rest on our laurels because we have, quote unquote, one of the best school systems in the country. That's not going to work out real well. I need somebody who agrees as I do that our school system is failing our students in a number of different ways. And, let's try to get better. Even if we are the second best in the country, that doesn't mean we can't do better. So I want somebody who's going to challenge the system in the right ways. I'm someone that always likes to look at other states. What are other states doing with success that we're not doing? But certainly something who prides himself on something I pride myself on. Our first job is to listen. So are you going to be in constant communication with the community and associations like yours, listening, but then also reacting to what it is that we need to do to make things better, particularly in our educational system?
This is more of a personal question. Most people have had someone in education who might have been a mentor to them or really changed their life. Was there any teacher, administrator, coach that stands out in your education career?
Ray, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, I can't remember what I had for dinner last night, but I'll tell you what I can remember. Uh, Miss Stillwell, Miss Snyder, Miss Giuseppe, Mrs. Bain, Miss Perlowski, Miss Morgan, Miss Nye. Those were my K through 6 teachers because of the impact they had on my life. And so I support educators. I celebrate educators. We know they serve as mentors to young people. I just want to put them in a position where they're teaching critical life skills and certainly providing the right example in every way in heading up the classroom. So, I'm somebody that's going to celebrate our educational system and working in partnership with educators, with the NJA, with your association to make things better for the school system. But every one of my teachers at the youngest grades, that's why I still remember every one of their names, had an impact on my life. And let me also say my favorite job of all time, next to being governor, of course, was as an adjunct professor at Seton Hall University. Being an educator is a magnificent experience.
Okay, thank you. We'll be wrapping this up. Is there any final comments on education? Maybe something that I didn't ask you that you'd like to just add in?
I think we need to partner in a number of different ways and sit down and challenge ourselves to make things better. Again, I don't want us falling into this false positive because some people think, and I'm not speaking of you, Ray, that we're good. We got the second best K through 12 system in the country. I don't think that's the way to look at it. You've heard me share the fact about incoming freshmen at community colleges. We know that there are school districts where there are a very large percentage of students who are not on grade level for critical life skills. We need to challenge ourselves to make our K through 12 system truly the very best for every student across the state of New Jersey, and that's what I'm committed myself to doing.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the end of this interview with the Republican gubernatorial candidate, Jack Ciattarelli. Thank you, Jack, for joining us. I hope most of you enjoyed this interview. Thank you.